Republicans in the Senate are refusing to work with Democrats on a bipartisan immigration reform bill. A group of 12 moderate Senate Democrats sent a letter to Senate Majority Leader John Thune on Wednesday calling on the GOP to work with them on immigration. But Senate Republicans are instead making it clear they will pursue a border package without Democratic input, despite a razor-thin majority in the House. Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina said his party will not negotiate with Democrats on the issue, telling NBC News, quote, on border security, no. Let's bring in NBC News and MSNBC political analyst, former U.S. Senator Claire McCaskill, and NBC News national affairs analyst and a partner and chief political columnist at Puck, John Heilman. And Joe, what Ron was talking about, it's good advice, and it's the putting it into practice in situations like these that will be a challenge.
Yeah, you know, it is interesting on illegal immigration and on the border, on border security. We actually have heard people in the Trump camp saying they would like to work with Democrats on this issue. We heard Donald Trump in the middle of everything he said after giving his inaugural speech and going downstairs and talking to his more fervent supporters, saying that he's talked to Chuck Schumer and said that they should get together and work for the betterment of America. So Claire McCaskill, it's interesting on an issue where there could be common ground, on an issue where Democrats have moved the Republicans' directions, on an issue where actually they worked with James Langford in 2024 and came up with a tough border security bill. It is fascinating that they are now being boxed out and being told, no, we don't want to work with you, which, of course, you know, it's an exhausting thing every 2 years, people getting elected, getting the majority and thinking they're going to be in the majority forever, because they just aren't. And yet I think here we have it again where Republicans say we'll do this all ourselves.
Yeah, laws that last are laws that are bipartisan, laws that are wax and wane with whoever has the majority are ones that were passed just by one party. So obviously it's smarter for the Republicans to work with the Democrats. And Joe, here's the interesting thing about Lindsey saying no to this. There are, you've mentioned already this morning, some senators who have to pay attention to the middle. Dave McCormick in Pennsylvania, he barely won that election. That is a state that is run by one of the strongest Democrats in the country, Josh Shapiro. You have somebody like, Tom Tillis in a state like North Carolina, where a Democrat just got elected governor. You have Democrats, you have Republicans in states like Wisconsin, where Ron Johnson, don't ask me how he survived, not the brightest light in the marquee. In Wisconsin, where Tammy Baldwin just survived. So, the idea that he's got 53 Republicans that will go hard right, immediately cast out Susan and Lisa. They've already shown on the Hexeth nomination that they're not going to be part of a far-right extreme Republican caucus. So, why in the world wouldn't they try to carve out something in the middle that would get a few Democrats, maybe not all of them, but get a few from states that are similar to Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and other places where they will elect both Democrats and Republicans? It just seems weird to me that they are saying absolutely no. I don't get it. And they've already got a big problem coming up with how they're going to figure out how to fund the government.
Yeah, John Hyman, that deadline does loom in the weeks ahead. So let's get you on this, though. It's not Donald Trump's nature, just the occasional signal now and then to say he'll work across the aisle. But so far, the Trump team has suggested they're just simply going to go full steam ahead, crush their opposition, they think, both within their own Republican Party at times and certainly Democrats. They don't seem like there's much instinct or appetite for compromise. How are you surveying the landscape here?
Well, on the immigration issue, I'm with Claire, as is always smart to be. There's the question of the durability of the legislation, and I think it's what she just said was one of a great truth in our modern era, which is bipartisan legislation that affects millions and millions and millions of people. It has to be bipartisan, at least at the edges, if it's going to be stable and durable over time. I think the politics of this are super interesting in the sense that, we've become really familiar with the dynamic where you have a hardline Republican House and a Senate that tends to be, because of the political dynamics of senators who are up for re-election in purple states and states where they need to play to the middle to some extent. We have a Senate that's normally a little bit more of a place where deal making can happen. And that the House recalcitrance of the Freedom Caucus and so on is what holds things up. This is obviously a reversal of form if it holds. And I think, you guys on the show, we've been talking for the last couple of weeks about the leitmotif of signal versus noise. Here's the question on immigration. Is Donald Trump saying that he wants to work with Chuck Schumer, making kind of noises of that kind? Is that signal or is that noise? And is what's coming out of the Senate, is that signal or is that noise? Because it can't be both. If Trump really wants there to be a bipartisan immigration bill, he can shut down this go it alone attitude that we've heard from the Republicans in the Senate on this issue. But if he doesn't really care about bipartisanship, he's obviously, there are a lot of people on his team, as you just said, Jonathan, who are more inclined to go it alone on almost everything. And that is, we'll see how that plays out. I don't know the answer to that question right now, but it's super interesting because it is one of the places where there's at least been some sounds coming out of the White House that Joe's talking about, that they'd like to go in a bipartisan way. And to hear Lindsey and others go the opposite direction, we'll see which one of those turns out to be signal, which one turns out to be noise.